Hi everyone, welcome to Staying Green in Quarantine, where we're sharing tips to help you build a more sustainable lockdown. We hope you've been enjoying our videos so far. If you have, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for updates when we release new ones. Now, as you can see, I'm surrounded by a nice eclectic mix of different potentially rubbish looking items, but they are not rubbish, they're actually recycling. So we've been doing a lot of work like picking out bits of household waste and showing you how you can turn them into nice things to have around the house. But we thought it might also be useful just to talk you through our recycling process and thinking about like the kind of things that can be chucked in a recycling bin. It might seem obvious and it might seem simple, but actually what can and can't be recycled is constantly getting updated, and it's really important to stay on top of it. We are always finding out things that we thought couldn't be recycled but can, and things that we thought could be recycled but can't. And it's important to get it right, because if a batch of recycling has too much contamination, too many things that can't be recycled in it, often that entire batch will just end up getting chucked straight to landfill, which is obviously really bad for the environment. So this is just a simple way of making sure that your recycling actually ends up getting recycled. We'll take you through the different kind of things that can usually be recycled and point out some things that can't be recycled, and then we'll take you through our process that we go through to make sure that everything that we chuck in our recycling bin ends up getting recycled. So yeah, that's that. Let's get started. So we're going to get started with plastic, and the thing to bear in mind is that most hard plastics can be recycled. So like these containers, this soup container, this bottle. Notice we've taken the label off because often the label can't be recycled. So that's a good step to do. It's not 100% necessary, but it's helpful. And yeah, the thing to bear in mind with plastic though is it degrades in quality when it gets recycled, so it can't be recycled forever. So if you can reuse your plastic containers, that's a good idea. We've kept this old soup container, for example, and we've rinsed it out and we just use it as a Tupperware so we can keep things in the fridge and that kind of thing. Now the kind of plastic that can't be recycled is thin kind of like film plastic. I've taken the cucumber out of the fridge as an example. So like cling film, plastic bags, this kind of film, as I say, all of that actually can't be recycled and needs to go in the bin, unfortunately. There is a bit of an alternative to that though. If you find you're using a lot of cling film or a lot of foil in the kitchen to kind of keep leftover food, which is great, you can think about replacing it with beeswax wrap. Now, this is something we've spoken about before and something we'll never stop talking about because it's great. It's made from all natural ingredients. It's biodegradable when it kind of loses its integrity. And it's a really great way to reduce the non-recyclable plastic that you're using in the kitchen. So next one's metal and the kind of metal things that you can recycle. Most metal things can be recycled, and what's great, as I think I've mentioned in the previous video, is metal can be recycled pretty much indefinitely. It doesn't lose its integrity like plastic, so it can be recycled into a new can or into a new whatever again and again and again, which is great. So we've got like a little aluminium can here which can be recycled, which is great, and a can of beans that can be recycled. It's really important with a can of beans that you give it a bit of a rinse, or a can of anything really, give it a bit of a rinse before you chuck it into recycling. So those things are pretty standard. What we recently found out, I didn't know this until very recently, is you can actually also recycle foil and kind of foil coverings, like foil trays that you're using to cook in the oven as well. If you're doing that, you want to make sure, as you can see, as we've got here, you want to collect the foil until you've got a ball that's about the size of a fist-ish. It's just easier to be recycled that way, and it makes sure that metal actually does end up getting recycled, which is obviously really important. So the next thing that we're going to do is cartons and like Tetra Pak. So they are kind of their own material, but they're not... oh, that needs rinsing. To the kitchen! So it is really important that you rinse out everything that's getting sent to recycling, just because like any kind of food contamination can lead to the whole batch being contaminated, which is obviously a problem. So just when you're getting things ready to be recycled, once you're finished with them, just like giving them a little rinse before you chuck them in your recycling bin is a really important step.
Nice utensil holder you got there, mister.
It's upcycled.
Is it?
Yeah.
Cool.
So now that we've given that carton a rinse, the thing to kind of do, the thing to bear in mind with Tetra Pak and with carton is that it takes up quite a lot of space for not quite a lot of material. So it's really important before you kind of send it to recycling, to actually give it a squish it down, and make it take up as small amount of space as possible, and actually put the lid back on to stop it from kind of expanding. Now the reason for that is that obviously all your recycling is getting transported in like trucks and lorries to recycling plants. And if this is taking up loads of space, it means less material can be loaded onto the lorry, which means there's a higher carbon footprint for the recycling. So by squishing, you're actually doing a really great job in reducing the carbon footprint of your recycling. So paper and cardboard, this is a real simple one. Most types of paper and cardboard can be recycled. We've got like an egg carton here, we've got like a paper bag here, which can be recycled. We've got a cereal box, which we've kind of like folded and squished down. As you can see, again, that's just to reduce the carbon footprint. So we'll probably squish up the egg carton as well before we actually chuck it away. A thing that we discovered recently is that a lot of pizza boxes actually can't be recycled. Basically, any cardboard that's got like a significant amount of like grease, food oil on it, can't be recycled because it's going to contaminate the entire batch. But otherwise, generally, most types of paper and cardboard can be recycled and can be really easily just chucked into your recycling bin. And now we're going to talk about glass. So we've got a bottle of wine here, and we've got an old like spice container. It's worth noting that we've actually taken the lid off the spice container because where we are, plastic and glass are recycled in separate bins. With that in mind, it's worth doing just a little bit of research into how recycling works near you. So do you have curbside recycling? Do you have, like we have, do you have a recycling centre just a little bit way up the road? Ours is like 100 metres up the road. And what are the like requirements for recycling there? Now, also, sometimes you'll be able to just chuck all your glass into one bin, but sometimes you'll have to separate out the glass as well into clear. This is clear, this is green, I think. Yeah, and then also brown as well. And that's really important because sometimes contamination between different colours means that there are problems at the plant and some of the glass can't be used. Glass is recyclable indefinitely like metal, so it's really important to get that right so that it can just continue to be recycled and it doesn't have to go to landfill. And then just a quick note on other things that you might be able to recycle. If you've got any sort of rubbish, like industrial rubbish or like building waste or like paint or anything like that, it's worth just having a look online to see if and how it can be recycled. A good example that we're going with is batteries. So batteries can often be recycled at like a local shop, like a supermarket or that kind of thing. They'll have like a little battery bank. Batteries themselves, much like with many other of the materials I just listed, can be really bad for the environment if they're just chucked in landfill or if they're just kind of left around. So making sure that they're disposed of properly is really important and also quite easy. So as an addendum to that, I just wanted to talk about how we make sure that we actually do recycle, because it's great having the knowledge, but it's really important to actually implement it as well. And really with recycling, you want to make it as easy as possible. You don't want to have to go digging through your bins to pick out like bits of plastic. It's gross, it's unpleasant. So what we started doing is we've got 2 bins in every room basically. One bin with a plastic kind of bag in it, and we reuse the same plastic bag over and over again, obviously. And that's for like rubbish, so anything that needs to go in the bin. And then we'll also have a second bin which doesn't have a bag in it, and this is for recycling. So it's like paper, hard plastic, any of the things that I've already mentioned. And that way we can really easily separate the things that need to go in the bin from the things that need to be recycled and put them in our big recycling bin. And then as well as that, we've got a kind of a general indoor recycling bin. Again, that's just to make sure that we don't have to go sifting through our main rubbish bin to pull out our recycling, because it's gross and it's unpleasant and I don't want to be doing that. So we've just repurposed this kind of old box and we keep it in the living room. It's really easy. Every few days we collect the recycling bins from in the different rooms and we put the stuff that's in there in this, and then every week on a Sunday we take the recycling out. That's helpful because it's habit forming, so we just know on a Sunday, okay, we've got to take the recycling out. It seems like a small step, but having a dedicated recycling bin I found really helpful because it means that I don't have to just leave recycling lying around the house basically, which is really pleasant, and it makes it easier to make sure that not only do we know what we need to recycle, but we actually implement it and actually make sure that it does get recycled. Thanks so much for watching today, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it and it's inspired you to start thinking about how and what you recycle. We'd love to hear about what you're getting up to make sure recycling happens in your home, so tell us about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and share it with some of your friends, and subscribe for updates when we release new content. And as always, stay home, stay safe, stay green.